Hi there. Now that I have a hull that is laminated and ready on the outside, I also need to do something about the inside. The reason why it's quite important to move on and not take a break now is that wood is always in constant equilibrium with the water content in the air. And if the water content increases in the air and the temperature varies, the wood will actually also vary in size. If it takes up water, the wood fiber will get longer and thicker. And if it loses water, the wood fibers will get smaller and thinner. So in order to not change the hull shape, I need to move on and get the hull on the outside to not spread dust in the garage. The glass fiber edges of the hull can be sharp, thus I wear gloves when lifting the hull. To reduce the risk of cuts and glass fiber delamination at the edge, I start with removing the excess sticking out over the edge. The main aim of the inside sanding is to get a surface without sharp edges. Here in the back end I need to do more sanding, as I have a lot of sharp edges to cut back. When I built the hull I had to add extra strips to take the hull bend. Now I have to sand them back. I use a belt sander as far as possible, as that is the fastest sander. The reason why I'm sanding vertical to the strip direction is that I can use the turn around the belt wheel to my favor. When I can't reach more with the belt sander, I try other options. A sanding sponge with a coarse paper bends well with the inside bending of the hull, although it requires a lot more hard work. A rasp on a multi-tool is less labor-intensive, but does not follow the surface so well and is noisy. I use it for the flatter areas with high humps. In the more uniform areas of the hull, there are more options. The belt sander works for the bend towards the bottom and the flatter hull side. Finishing with the sandpaper, although labor intensive. The sandpaper on a sponge gives the best result, especially for this bendy area. After sanding I remove the dust. There are some low spots and other areas that need a filler, so I mix up some lightweight epoxy filler. Down here there are some cracks that needs filling. It ain't easy to fill the gaps, but with the rubber squeegee it's possible. What I have been filling needs to be sanded back, and that's done outside. Changing paper to get a good sanding and less polishing. All the sanding and the extra time has resulted in shrinkage. The hull has shrank more than 10%. It should be 40 cm wide but it's only 31 cm now. As wood expands with moisture content, I will try to adjust the hull. Smearing water on the inside with a pencil might work. I will let the wood suck it in overnight. And the next day is perfect, back at 40 cm width. Now I can start prepare the glass fiber. Increase the temperature in the preparation for the epoxy. The elevated temperature will dry out the wood, so I only elevate it half a day in advance. Now it's 11 degrees and in a few hours it will be about 20. Here it's too wide, so I can shrink it with extra heat. A hot air gun will drive out some moisture and heat up the wood. I don't want any surface moisture, so I work with the gun over the whole surface. The difference is how long I let it work. Also here I can use some more heat. I still have some low spots and put on some lightweight epoxy filler. I will continue straight away without letting it cure. I smear on epoxy on the surface. Then I put down the glass and wet it out at the same time as I put it down in place. In such a tight spot the pencil is the best tool. I continue with a new section of the hull. The glass will stick better and wet out better on a pre-wetted surface. Now I can lay down the next glass section. And wet out that section in the same manner. And move on. After a while I can press out the air with the roller. After about 4 hours the laminate has started curing and is sticky. I put on a second layer to encapsulate the glass. I use a bit thickened epoxy to get it to stay better on the slopes. As the inside doesn't need to be completely smooth, I will stop with 2 epoxy layers. Maybe I will need some correction layers later on, as I have some trapped air here. That will be handled in the next episode. I hope to see you back here then. And please leave a like and a comment if you think that's appropriate.